Now Kvaratskhelia steadying himself! A star in the making. And there's the only goal! Sabini with it! After 11 years, once again, Milan are the champions of Italy.
Ciao ragazzi, and welcome back to Serie A Sitdown. Buon anno also. I should mention that. It is 2023. Cut me some slack. We haven't done this in a few weeks. I'm Frank Crivello. We've got Richard Carmen, Alex Donald. We're all in the house. Ciao, gentlemen.
Chin chin. Buon anno.
This feels longer than an off season, right? I mean, we usually have less time between May and the start of the next season than we just had for this World Cup break. I forgot. Obviously I remember Napoli being top of the table, but as far as the rest of the table, I don't know who's what, who's where. I don't know what any of these teams are going to look like tomorrow.
Yeah, I had to go and double check and take a look at the standings. I had to go and take a look at the who's playing tomorrow. Had to do a lot of last minute preparation for this show and to get things back up and running.
You only had 2 months to prep for this. Come on.
I know. How have you boys been? How were your holidays?
Mine was good. Not too bad. I obviously a lot of Calcio or football with the World Cup, but it was relaxing time. Got to enjoy the holidays. Just got back from Pittsburgh yesterday or so. Things are good. How about you guys, Alex?
Yeah, very enjoyable holiday. The World Cup was bittersweet, obviously, with the Azzurri not being involved. I adopted my, the country where I live, United States. They got at least into the knockout stages, which was nice. I will say, though, that the matches were incredibly entertaining, including the final, which I would classify as epic. That was an epic World Cup final. So despite the fact that, for the Azzurri supporters, we didn't have a horse in the race, it ended up being a really, really good World Cup. So I'm happy about that.
Yeah.
Not afraid to say that might be the best final
ever
of any competition I've ever seen. It's really, really hard for me to, go back and look at it. I mean, I have favorite finals. 94 Champions League final when Milan beat Barcelona 4-0. Italy winning the World Cup in 2006, that sort of thing. But in terms of what the game offered, in terms of atmosphere, two of the best in the world, just going back and forth and going at it, goals, and then just, drama from one thing to the next was, it had everything. One could argue that the quality of play overall could have been a little bit better. But you're really splitting hairs at that point. I heard some people say, the quality of football wasn't the greatest, but it was a great final. I've heard a couple people say that. I don't agree with that. I have a hard time.
If you compare this final to the final where another great final, which was Argentina beating Germany 3-2 back in 86 or whatever.
86, yeah.
The quality is so much better now than it was then. So, you take things, with a grain of salt, but overall, beautiful tournament.
Yeah, I think it was as far as the tournament as a whole, I thought it was an okay tournament. Okay. That was 2006. I'm going to always be biased and say 2006 was the best World Cup, but the star power that was at that tournament, Zidane, Ballack, the team dynamic of Italy, Kaká at Brazil, and then you have Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi just jumping into the scene.
Ronaldinho.
Yep, Ronaldinho. Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, 2018, many argue, was the greatest World Cup of all time. I'd put it up against 2006. 86 was really good. Some would say 82 was really good.
Yeah, and it's funny about 82. I wasn't born yet, but when I was growing up, my father had most of Italy's matches in 82 on VHS tape.
Nice.
And when I was, when it got to be around 91, 92, and I really started getting into watching soccer and watching World Cups, my father busted out the 82 VHS tapes. I must have watched Italy's win over Brazil and over, East Germany in the final. I must have watched those matches probably 100 times each. I don't think I watched every match from that tournament, but I always held, even though it was 2 years before my birth, I always held 82. Of course, Italy won that World Cup, which was a bonus. I always held that in a special light because I would like burn through those VHS tapes watching them so often.
Yep.
I am no longer the youngest person on this podcast. I can't believe it.
This is crazy. Of course, I am the old man, and I gotta live with that. I'm also the oldest. I'm also the oldest dad at my kid's school too.
Really?
I mean, at least for my son's class. I don't know my daughter. I would assume my daughter's class too because she's younger. So, but hey, I'm getting used. I'm getting used to it now.
There you go.
How about this real quick? So there's a dad of a little girl in my son's school who he's on his second family, and he is also the dad of a girl that I went to high school with that was in the same class that I was in, and she had an older sister that was 2 or 3 years older.
Wow.
And this guy's got a 3 or 4 year old now. He's completely started over. So it's like I could never do that, man. And I only have one kid, but I'm like, imagine starting over like 30 years from now. I don't think I could do it.
No.
I couldn't do it. So have a hard enough time with the two that we've got, and then trying to figure out where to get a dog on top of it. And
I already got you too. I already beat you there. So
we're gonna wait. We're gonna wait until the kids can consistently keep the doors closed, the patio door, the garage door. Yeah. that is a big problem. So, but nonetheless, so, the World Cup had all of its entertainment. We released, a number of videos. Richard did a great job with some commentary on Serie A players. I put together a couple of all Serie A teams from the first round and second round of World Cup games. I will maybe here give my, team of the tournament as it pertains to Serie A. Pretty tough to make all of the selections, but nonetheless, I can do that. But let's start with that. While we're on the topic of the World Cup, it's a little over 2 weeks removed now. And let's ask you guys, I'll open it up. Let's start with the best of Serie A from the World Cup. Okay. I'll start by saying, to me, the best Serie A player overall at the World Cup was Sofiane Amrabat of Morocco. Okay. Playing in the midfield, protecting the defense, just about won everything in sight. I think his true best game was against Spain. I thought he was outstanding there, and I think that he gave everybody a glimpse of what he's capable of. But I'll start with their best player, Sofiane Amrabat of Morocco. Alex, let's start with you. Give us another positive and highlight of the Serie A players that were represented at the World Cup.
I certainly co-sign on Amrabat, and I will say, and it's ironic for me being the only non-Milanista on the pod, I was pretty impressed, obviously, with the run that France had into the final, and with some clutch performances from Giroud and with the way that Theo played. I had to be impressed there, especially, and Di Maria with Argentina, especially after watching a lot of Inter players outside of Brozovic stinking it up on the pitch, seeing the Milan players actually doing pretty well. That was definitely a highlight.
Okay, Richard, how about you?
Yeah, good shots there with Giroud, Theo Hernandez, Amrabat. I'm going to say, honestly, the biggest winners for me is Max Allegri and Juventus. The Juventus players that played, I'm talking about Di Maria, Szczesny, Rabiot, Alexandro. These guys were fantastic all tournament long. We thought maybe Rabiot's run at the end of the season or the end before the World Cup started was maybe a fluke. He kept that going through the World Cup, right? Alexandro regained his past form. Di Maria was his exceptional self, and Szczesny was one of the best goalkeepers in that tournament. So the Juventus players really stood out for me, other than Paulo Dybala, and he's not even there anymore. What am I talking about? So yeah, Juventus players.
Yeah, I guess I got to go with that too. I think another guy that you can probably lump into that conversation is Adrien Rabiot was really good for France, obviously scoring the tying goal against Australia, but overall the energy he gave in the midfield. I was curious to see, because I had not watched a lot of France in the build-up. Him in a double pivot with Tchouaméni, and then having playing behind Mbappe, Griezmann, and Dembele, and how that was going to work, because functionally at Juventus it's a little bit different for Rabiot, and when you look at it on paper, you would say there's definitely a lot more freedom for him to go forward and get into the box. Well, that wasn't a problem with France. I mean, there was definitely spaces created because Griezmann wasn't just parking himself in a 10 role. He moved around a little bit. You had Mbappe playing a lot higher. So in those areas, I think that Rabiot was able to step up and find some of that room and be dangerous, as he was on the goal against Australia. Yeah. So that's another guy that I thought, and I'll build this team. I'm on, let's see, I've got 1, 2, 3, I've got 8 players in this all Serie A team from the World Cup right now. The goalkeeper is Szczesny, and I think that's pretty much by default. Your other choices were Vanja Milinkovic-Savic, who got shelled throughout the group stage playing for
Onana,
and then Andre Onana, who went home after one game. So
my choice.
But it's still valid because, I mean, Szczesny can tell his kids and his grandkids, you see that Leo Messi guy? I saved a penalty on him.
Yeah. And he has the World Cup record for most saves in a game too. So
Yep. And that as well. So it is definitely there is definitely some legitimacy to that. But the rest of it as it stands right now, I've got, and here's the problem. There wasn't a lot of center backs, that was playing at the World Cup that were Serie A. You had Min Jae Kim, who I thought was outstanding in the first game against Uruguay, but then he got hurt and just never really was himself. Yeah. And South Korea just paid a painful price trying to out-Brazil in the second round. You could probably do that if Min Jae was fit, but he wasn't. So it ended up making him play his way out. I ended up putting in Denzel Dumfries as the right back, and strongly on the performance against the USA.
He was dominant.
I thought he was crap throughout the group stage. I just railed him. And I sat there saying, I was like, he's horrible. I've been ripping on him throughout the entire group stage. So of course he's going to nuke against the USA. So that's just how it works out. And I'll just put the Brazilian pairing of Danilo and Alexandre together in the middle, because I don't think there was really another center back that we can look at and say, this was, that this was good from you or so on or so forth. And then Teo Hernandez on the left. The best thing that happened to him in this World Cup was his brother getting hurt.
Yep.
Yeah. But boy, did he put in a performance. And then he was, he obviously scored the goal against Morocco, was a huge influence, and functionally really wasn't all that different from how he played, how he plays for Milan. So
I argue he played better defensively than he did with Milan, but obviously that's you got maybe stronger teammates around, who knows? But yeah, he had a great tournament front and back, I thought.
But I think that's been starting to surface a little bit. I mean, even with playing with Milan, I think that he has gotten a little bit better. Yeah. Defensively, not to what you would. We're not going to start hailing him as the next Maldini or anything like that, but certainly improved. Midfield, Sofiane Amrabat obviously is in. Adrien Rabiot is in. We got to pick one more midfielder from the Serie A teams. I have Giroud as a striker. I have Di Maria on one wing. So we need one winger and we need one more midfielder. And then our all Serie A
Brozovic.
Brozovic. Thank you. That's what I was. Yeah. That's what I was missing. I thought the guy ran forever. Yeah, he's still running.
There's nothing new. He's been running since 2017. He hasn't stopped.
Yep. I agree. We could have put there. I mean, and then so it's the left side of the front three. And then if the chat wants to jump in and
Leao.
I actually want to say Leao. He was extremely efficient for the playing time he got. He scored 2 goals.
Not a bad shout.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the players that were left, right? You got Nikola Vlasic. He didn't have a good tournament. Mario Pasalic, not a good tournament. Lautaro Martinez, not a good tournament. You know,
No.
so many other Serie A players, not a good tournament. So by default, it has to be Leao, right?
Lautaro did have his moment with a penalty. What was that in the semifinal? The big pen, but outside of that on the pitch, not good.
He did well in probably overtime in the final, but again, his claim to fame is winning the title.
Lautaro should have scored 5 goals in the final for in the time that he was on. He had so
Lukaku
many open
should have
chances.
scored 5 goals in about 20 minutes of one match.
against Croatia. Yeah. So we segue into the ugly of the Serie A at the World Cup, and I think it's obvious to start with the performances of Lautaro Martinez and Romelu Lukaku. Here's Lukaku. How often are you ever going to see that from him? And part of me is going to say, oh, great, now he's mad for the rest of Serie A to now have to deal with. Yeah. But Lautaro, here's the thing that I've always and Alex, you're the Inter guy, so you can weigh in on this if you'd like. But here's my thing on Lautaro. I don't think he fits in teams where the environment is set up where that team has a monopoly of possession. And they have to deal with tighter spaces. Lautaro Martinez is an excellent counterattacking forward. Yeah. I've said this at all times. And you pick DraftKings lineups, and I'd see if I saw a game where I thought Inter were going to have 70% of the possession, and I saw Dzeko and Lautaro playing up front. I said, I'm going to play Dzeko. I'm not going to play Lautaro because it's a crossing game for Inter, and they're going to look for Dzeko's head. Yeah. Much like Argentina, where it's, they're not looking for anybody's head, but they have all this possession and everything goes through Messi, just absolutely everything. Okay. And Martinez's role is to get in there and occupy defenders. And then he's going to have, he better finish the few chances that are going to come to him. So there's some parallel there, but I think the setup works against Lautaro because of what Argentina is able to do and be able to have the possession and the respect teams have for them, that there isn't the space for him to be the Lautaro that we think, can be dangerous. Your thoughts?
Well, I think you're spot on. The only other thing I will add to it, and I think tactically what you said makes perfect sense, but the other thing about Lautaro is he's a painfully inconsistent player. He's very streaky, and if he hits a cold patch at the wrong time, which might very well have been that tournament, I've seen him go literally months without scoring goals, and then as soon as he snaps out of his funk, he can't stop scoring. Like, he can go from 5 or 6 games where he can't buy a goal to then a hat trick, and then he snaps out of a bad patch of form. So he could have been hitting a bad patch of form at the wrong time. I'll segue into Lukaku, because obviously when he came on as a substitute in a do-or-die match for Belgium and he was missing sitters left and right, I will be a Lukaku apologist here, because the thing that annoyed me about his performance and the narratives that came out of it in that match was he really wasn't supposed to play until the knockout stages, because he, in his recovery from injury, and Roberto Martinez, the Belgian manager, had even said it leading into the tournament and into the first couple matches of the tournament, we know Lukaku is not really, he's not injured anymore, but he's not fit, and we really are not even going to use him until the knockout stages. But then you have a do or die, Belgium wasn't expecting to be in that position of having to win their final group stage match. They should have qualified comfortably. Then it's all hands on deck. You put out all the stops, and then he was thrown into kind of an unfair position because the guy literally hadn't played football in months. And that's where, I think it's more explainable. I was still shocked by how many chances he missed, don't get me wrong, but I think the performance is more explainable in the context of hadn't played due to injury in several weeks and wasn't supposed to be fit enough to play until the knockout stages anyway. I think that just had a lot to do with the way he performed. And like you said, Frank, is he's more than likely going to start against Napoli tomorrow. Hopefully it made him angry, and he finds a way to make Napoli pay for that.
Yep. Richard, give us some guys that you thought were a disappointment from Serie A at the World Cup.
Yeah, there's quite a few, right? But Paredes is a good shout by Phil in the chat. He had some contesty moments in this tournament. Almost set off a fracas against Netherlands at one point, shooting into the bench there. QBR and Glick, I thought, started well, but they're kind of a Spezia player and the Serie B player kind of came out as the tournament progressed, and then they kind of got shellacked. Poland, I was kind of disappointed with Zielinski, because Zielinski is a guy who we hold very high. Him and what's his face from Juventus, Milik. But more so Zielinski. Zielinski is a player who we said this is his coming out party. And he had an okay tournament, but I thought he would be a lot better. I thought he'd really be able to dictate play for Poland. Yes, they were in a tough group, but he didn't do as well as I had hoped he would do.
Was he a victim of the tactics?
I would think so. It just seemed like Poland always seems like they're off. They have one of the most talented teams in Europe, but they just never seem to put it together. And it has to come down to coaching, that the pieces is square pegs and round holes, right? That's got to be a big contributor to why Zielinski wasn't good, because he is a masterful player. We know this. And so, I think tactics has to be part of it.
Yep. I mean, it's not the Argentina game. Poland had no interest in having the ball. And then France, they only had it for a little bit longer than that. So that really takes away where Zielinski can be effective.
Yeah.
To that point. The other disappointments that I would probably say, Kivior got off to a great start and then faded out of this World Cup. So interesting, because I think after the first, it's amazing how fickle everybody is, because after the first couple of games, you're talking about that Spezia is going to cash in on the guy, and then you haven't heard a peep about it since. So I thought that, looking at, and we kind of called Poland Team Serie A, because what do they have, 7 guys?
Yeah.
From Serie A on their team.
They almost had a Serie A 11 just on their squad.
Close, Serie A, like 10 plus Lewandowski. But definitely go there. I think other guys that I think were disappointing. The goalkeepers, obviously, which we touched on earlier, Milinkovic-Savic, just getting shelled. Brazil, okay, fine, and I think he actually was outstanding against Brazil. But then your answer after that is to have 3 shipped to you against Cameroon. It was not a good World Cup for him. Onana was obviously probably can argue was the biggest disappointment of the World Cup.
I'm still not 100% sure what happened there.
So this is what I heard, and this is why I kind of side with Onana, because he had an okay first game, but the problem was, and everyone was talking about it. Onana was coming out of his box, playing in front of the defense, and the coach did not like it. The coach said, "You're a goalie. You stay in the box. Let the defenders play with the ball." He goes,
which
sounds
like he was coaching from 1925 with a philosophy like that.
And so Onana's like, "No, I'm going to keep doing what I do, because this is what I do well." And he's like, "No." He's like, "All right, fuck it. I'm out of here." And so he left, and the coach's like, "See you."
Yeah. And then, like I said, wasn't a good World Cup for the few center backs that we had there. Minjai is an injury, and it's unfortunate. And I'm trying to remember the other. Dylan Braun from Tunisia, who I thought had a very good first game.
Yeah.
And, did his job against Denmark. And really his role was to defend. You were harsh on Dylan Braun in your first video about, when you went across that game. I had to let you know. I was nice. I was nice enough to not call you out on Twitter publicly, because that's not my thing. But
you just do it on YouTube.
Dude, I thought
at least
played
you're face to face. This is a little more manly to do it.
But then after that, after that he was disappointing.
Vlahovic was a good shout. Vlahovic is very non-existent.
Yeah, that's a great. I forgot he was in the tournament.
He was second fiddle, which was surprising to me over Mitrovic, but he didn't do that well.
Yep. So it was hopefully, 2026 we go to 48 teams, so Italy has to be in it. And we actually can talk about Italy at the World Cup. Again, it's been quite a while since we've done that. We haven't. It's been by the time 2020. Here's the thing that'll really piss you off. By the time the 2026 World Cup kicks off, it will have been 20 years since Italy has played in a knockout game in the World Cup.
Wow. What's also sad is that while the Azzurri are not in the tournament, they decided to be lazy on social media and put out these god-awful jerseys. I didn't think they were that great. The emblem was lazy. The jerseys are lazy. They really.
As an Adidas man, I'm happy they've gone to Adidas. I'm just, I'm not feeling the first round of kits though. So I might wait for the second round, but we'll see. So, but Anyway, so that was what we thought of the Serie A performances at the World Cup. Let's now move on to the present. It's 2023, gentlemen, and we're 15 games in across the board in Serie A. It is back in our lives tomorrow morning. You guys out on the East Coast get an extra hour of sleep. You got Salernitana Milan, you got Sassuolo Sampdoria, which I'm going to be foolish enough to wake up for both, obviously, to to support my Milan.
I'm going to wake up for both, not by choice. That's usually what time I wake up anyway.
Well, you guys don't work?
Oh, well, then I'll go to work afterward. So that all kicks off. We'll run through the rest of the slate for you. So those are the 6:30 a.m. Eastern games. And then we have two 8:30 Eastern games, Spezia against Atalanta and Torino against Hellas Verona. A couple of 10:30 East games, Lecce against Lazio, Roma against Bologna. 12:30 Eastern games, Cremonese Juventus, Fiorentina Monza, and then 2:45 in the afternoon, Inter Napoli is the big one, Udinese Empoli. Sonia will watch that game while the rest of us watch Inter Napoli. So,
can I give the rare credit to Serie A because they rarely get things right? I think they did this match day really well because it's 2 games every 2 hours, gives you a full slate, a full day of Serie A, which is great. I was fully expecting to put all the games in one time slot and have you guess it out which one you want to watch. So well done for Serie A for the one time in your life.
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. It's just will people that are devout Serie A followers get any work done tomorrow is going to be the question. So it's going to be interesting. But clearly there is a marquee matchup that sits in this slate, and it is going to be in the last round of games. 5th place Inter, top of the table Napoli. Napoli took this league by storm through the first 15 games, put up 41 points. Inter on 30 points through those 15 games. The projected lineups, if you look at SofaScore, Inter has got Onana in goal. Skriniar, Acerbi, and Bastoni across the back. Dumfries and DiMarco on the wingbacks. Barella, Çalhanoğlu, Mkhitaryan in midfield with Aiden Dzeko and Romelu Lukaku. Alex, how would you feel if that's what Simone Inzaghi put out?
I'm 99% confident that is what Inzaghi puts out, aside from maybe the question of Acerbi, being one of the center backs. I think it is what it is. I mean, Lautaro, we've known for a while, is not going to be to fit to start this match. Brozovic, same thing, not fit. He's targeting a Supercoppa return against Milan, and it's kind of familiar territory. It's like Brozovic got healthy enough just in time for the World Cup, and then he picks up a knock. I think it's a calf injury in the World Cup. So at least that's the only good news, guys, from an Inter point of view, is they had gotten quite accustomed to playing without Brozovic. During his absence, and Çalhanoğlu had done actually a decent job playing in a deeper role for Inter's midfield. So you can kind of look at that as a blessing in disguise, because on the one hand, I can tell you confidently that Brozovic is one of Inter's most important players, if not their most important outfield player, and you're not going to have any chance at winning a Scudetto without a healthy Brozovic. But at the same time, all of the time that he missed prior to the World Cup kind of gave Inzaghi an opportunity to figure out a tactical plan without him, and Çalhanoğlu has really stepped up in his absence. And Mkhitaryan, who had he had kind of had a fear of picking up a knock in one of the friendlies that Inter had, but it sounds like he's okay to go from the start. He had been dominating Inter's friendlies. He was scoring goals left and right during the World Cup break. So it seems like he's, for what that's worth in exhibitions, he seems to have picked up some serious form. And then, Dzeko was in very good form prior to the World Cup break. He's had a chance to rest. I think that's the biggest thing for Grandpa Dzeko at his, 35, 36 years old now. We've seen what he's capable of doing when he's not exhausted. because when Inter have had so many injuries among their strikers, Dzeko has probably played more than Simone Inzaghi would really envision him playing, but he's been very good as long as he's not tired. So I'm expecting more than likely a decent performance from Dzeko. And then playing alongside Lukaku, they haven't played alongside one another very often. Obviously, the strike partner that Lukaku is most familiar with is Lautaro, so it's unfortunate we can't get that from the start. So, we'll see how Lukaku and Dzeko can mesh together. I think that's going to be something we're all going to be looking for in that match. And how is Lukaku going to look? Because he had missed a lot of time with Inter prior to the World Cup break, and he's coming off, obviously, a tough performance in that match he appeared in against Croatia, as we talked about. As far as the defense goes, I'll say as far as the wing backs go, I want to see how they can take their form coming out of the World Cup break. I mean, DiMarco was really on a tear for the first part of the season. Like, Robin Gosens can't really get any opportunities to play with the way DiMarco's been playing on the left. And, we'll see how Dumfries can look on the right. But here's the thing, guys, with this match, I can tell you all day about what maybe I can expect from Inter. It's been so long that had this match been played 6 weeks ago, I'd say Napoli probably cuts through Inter like a hot knife through butter, the way they've been doing to pretty much everybody. But how is the World Cup break going to affect Napoli's momentum? Inter had some momentum before the World Cup break. They were picking up their form. So is that going to have any effect? How much will playing at San Siro be a factor? I mean, Napoli's been fine away from home. They've been great at home and away from home this year. So, obviously Napoli is, they've been by far the team to beat in Serie A so far this year, but I think everyone has a bit of uncertainty coming out of the very long break we just had of roughly 2 months, right? It's been that long.
Richard, Inzaghi does get to benefit from having, even the World Cup guys have probably been back now for a while. You look at this starting 11 and it's just two players. Three, if you really want to count Onana, but I'm not. Lukaku, who, Belgium going out at the group stage, Dumfries, Holland going out at the last 8. And then you look at the Napoli side. Yeah, a lot of their guys have been there all along as well. So these are two teams that are going to be very well prepared for this match. Does Inter look to you like, even if it's a home game, even if this is a home game for them, this lineup screams, okay, counter with the two strikers that we have, that we can play out to either one of them and they can keep the ball and give us a chance to get forward?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's going to be their best tactic too against this very potent, very dangerous Napoli squad. Let them have the ball, soak up the pressure, and hit them on the counterattack. We saw them the slight vulnerability that Napoli do have. We've seen them on the counterattacks where teams have been able to catch them. Inter are very good on the counter as well, and I fully expect that to be the game tactic where Napoli hog the possession, and you see Inter counter and try to get their opportunities there, and they got some pace to kind of help them achieve that. I would be massively surprised if it was that script was flipped, because I think Napoli are going to want to get back to where they were before. As Alex said, that's the big unknown. They were the hottest team in Europe going into this thing, and we said that between them and Juventus, the two hottest teams, this would probably affect them the most, right? And granted, their guys have been back for a while, but still, you never know after a big break how your team's going to perform. So yeah, let's see what Inter do, but 100%, I almost can guarantee, I almost put money down that the Inter are going to counter in this one.
Oh, 100%. This is one of those things where the last stat I'm going to be looking at is time of possession. I can already tell you it's going to be something along the lines of, even at the Meazza, it's going to be something along the lines of probably 60-65% in Napoli's favor. Yeah. I don't think Inter would be troubled by giving them most of the ball. I think that's what they're going to expect to do.
Yeah.
Expected lineup for Napoli is Merritt in goal. Back four, Di Lorenzo, Amir Rahmani, Min Jae Kim. To answer your question, Bob Lex, apparently that he should be fit for the game. Matias Oliveira on the left. Midfield three of Anguissa, Lobotka, and Piotr Zielinski, with Osimhen leading the line, flanked by Matteo Politano, and of course the revelation to most people on the Serie A season, Kvaratskhelia. Not us. We weren't surprised that he was going to do this. But Richard, pretty much Spalletti's strongest lineup. He's got everybody fit. He's got everybody, reset and ready to go here.
Yeah, I know some of the biggest worries would be, is Min Jae Kim fit? You mentioned he got injured during the World Cup, but he did play his last game against Brazil. Didn't look great, but he was healthy enough to play in that game, and he had plenty of time to recover since then. So I expect him to start in this one. As you mentioned, he's in the probable lineups. This is a pretty strong team here for Spalletti. It's probably his best 11 that he could pick, and the big thing for me is not health. It's going to be, can they get back to the swing of things? And I fully expect they should do that, right? Both teams are going to be probably a little more conservative to start. But this is a dangerous team any way you slice it. And they got, people want to argue whether they have depth or not. I argue they do have depth. And I think this is a great starting 11 for them to play with. Osimhen's going to be chomping at the bit. He is. Havracieli, who didn't get to even play the World Cup like Osimhen, he's chomping at the bit. These guys have been training all winter long. So, yeah, this is a very good team here. And it's just going to be a fun game. There's no ways around it. They're going to have possession of the ball. They're going to look to attack from different angles, not just the director out, but they're going to go to Havracieli on the left-hand side. They're going to go, they're going to go on the right side. They go through the middle, try to play the long balls. They're going to do a little bit of everything. Zelensky, I expect him to be back to his masterful self, not what we saw at the World Cup. So it should be a strong performance from Napoli, no doubt about it.
The issues that I have here, or not the issues, but here's the things that stand out to me when I see these two lineups. I don't think anyone in the back three for Inter can cope with the physicality of Victor Osimhen. And if he gets in positions and if he gets balls in the air played to him, I think he's gonna dominate. You could make
Skriniar's done well against him in the past, including breaking his face just by going for the same header. If you recall that play, I think from last season, he's done well against him, and I think that's going to be Inter's best shot. Inter's had a little bit of luck in recent years because it seems like every time Inter play Napoli, going back the last several years, something strange happens, whether it be Osimhen breaking his face and having to leave a match. There have been some Napoli red cards. Like there was a match a couple of years ago where Napoli, it seems like Koulibaly would always get sent off against Inter. It's, I don't know, strange things always happen when these teams square off.
You know what to keep an eye on, though, with Skriniar is that what we saw in the derby earlier this year is that Skriniar tends to play on the right side of the back three. And if he does, look at how Leao tore Skriniar apart in that game, made him look below average, really. And Havracieli can do that. And so if he plays that back three, Dumfries is going to have to really work his ass off defensively to try to help out there, because that's a tall task, if you're Skriniar or anybody in the world, really, right? Van Dijk or whomever. It's going to be hard to ask and stop number 77. That's going to be a big, big key matchup. And it's going to be hard, right? Because how do you balance that? You balance that or Osimhen? Like, pick your poison. Either way, you pick on one, the other one's going to take advantage of it. It's a difficult matchup for anybody, including Inter.
And that's why I question how Inter can match up against Osimhen, because Skriniar's on the right side of that back three. How does he man mark Osimhen with the presence of Kvaratskhelia there on his side? Yeah. And does Inzaghi bring Dumfries back? Can that's a win for Napoli if that happens, if you can pin Dumfries back. Yeah. I don't know how in this Inter lineup they can set themselves up shape-wise where they can crowd out Kvaratskhelia and, take their chances on leaving Dumfries high. Okay. So if Napoli are able to establish things, able to do some build-up play, and then let's not forget, you got Oliveira on the left-hand side too. Yeah. I think that's a challenge for Inter. So if you want to crowd your shape over to that side, well, now Zielinski's wide open, okay, and he can start doing some damage. This is a very difficult Napoli team to defend, and you have to pick your poison, and you're going to have to take some risks if you're on the Inter side of this. Mkhitaryan is a great midfielder on the counterattack coming out of the midfield to link with the forwards and to get into some of the dangerous spaces to score goals. Inter's going to have that going for them. The chat's all saying this is going to be a very tough game to call, KG. If there's any reason for it, is because Simone Inzaghi and Luciano Spalletti have had 6 weeks to get ready for this game. So that's the argument for that.
Is Barella fit?
Yeah, he's projected to start.
He will be the key guy to help out Skriniar, honestly, in that right-hand side, and
he's going to have to.
He's going to have to for any chance.
Yeah, I think the aerial duels, I think, are obviously concerning for me in that department, and I think that's where hopefully Skriniar can be on set pieces. He can be right there with Osimhen. I think that's an important factor because it's hard. I mean, Inter do not have a lot of height, especially when it comes to left wing back with DiMarco, who's about the size of a garden gnome. I think that some of these aerial battles are going to be key.
I'm predicting Napoli to win 2-1. And that's not because it's not an anti-Inter bias or anything like that. I just, looking at the shapes of these teams, and Barella's going to cover an awful lot of ground. But, man, my opinion might be a little bit different if Brozovic was available for this game.
I agree.
But I think this is a Napoli 2-1 win. I think that Zielinski ends up being the influential guy in this game. He either scores or assists. I can't quite, figure that out, but he's going to be involved in at least one of the goals. I think Inter are going to score coming the other way. I think it's going to come from something, relatively interesting when they can apply some pressure. Maybe it might be a Mkhitaryan goal. But I'm going Napoli to win 2-1. I think both teams score, and I think it goes over the 2.5 for anybody that's looking at that. So, based on my call, you're betting over 2.5 at -150. You're betting Napoli to win plus 200. Napoli's plus 200 in this game. Wow. Inter's plus 138. So I've got 2-1 to the Partenope. Richard?
Yo, I'm kind of feeling with the chat that it's going to be a tight game, and mostly not because it's going to be the rust from the long break off, right? There are some players who play the World Cup, but together as units, these teams haven't been there a while. They're going to be a little conservative, I think, at the beginning. I like that shot at 0-0 at halftime. You start seeing open up in the second half, like Bob said. I'm looking maybe like a 1-0 scoreline here. Napoli went in here on the road. I just don't think. I would be shocked if one of these teams came out. Obviously, Napoli could do it, but come out of the gates and we just fly with that big of a break that we had. So I think it'll be tight. I think it'll be cagey, mostly for the rust reasons. And I think Napoli find a way to continue this win streak and continue being at the top of the table.
Yeah, for as much as I love Inter, I would have to be the biggest homer in the world based on form before the World Cup break to expect an Inter victory. I don't think a draw would shock me, but I'm definitely going to lean to a Napoli win. I have this weird feeling that it's going to end up being maybe higher scoring than Richard thinks. That's just a hunch on my part. Usually when I have a hunch, you probably want to bet the opposite. So maybe you think about taking the under, but I'm expecting it to be a cagey first half and maybe 0-0, 1-1 heading into the break. But then I think things are going to open up in the second half. And I think Inter, I think it was Bob who said, will Inter get a set piece goal? Yeah, that's an area where Inter excels and Napoli not so much on the defensive side of it. I definitely think whether Inter score 1 or 2, I could see 3-1 or 3-2 in Napoli's favor. And I think Inter, either their only goal or one of their 2 goals will probably come from a set piece. So that's the way I see it playing out. I think that this game is really going to open up in the second half. And I just so much respect for Napoli's firepower. And, I worry about Inter's midfield stability a little bit because this is the type of game where Brozovic could help you so much to kind of stabilize things and control the match a little bit. I think Inter's going to be bypassing the midfield with a lot of long balls and counterattacks, which I think Napoli can eventually exploit in the second half. So, I'm kind of heading into this one, fellas, just, as an Inter supporter, happy that Serie A is back, happy I can watch Inter for the first time in a long time instead of talking about whether or not they're going to lose Skriniar on a free and, whether Steven Jang needs to sell the team yesterday. I could actually watch some football being played. But at the end of the day, I think I'm not going to have a smile on my face by the end of it.
Well, that's where we're all at on Napoli and Inter. So are we all saying, Richard? Are you saying a draw? Did I hear you right, or are you?
Napoli win.
Napoli win. Okay. So that is Inter Napoli. For those of you that like to gamble and like to play daily fantasy soccer, there is a slate on DraftKings tomorrow for the 12:30 Eastern games: Cremonese and Juventus and Fiorentina and Monza. So, I have pulled some player names and some salaries from each of the games, the ones that caught my attention. So if anyone's planning on playing tomorrow, now there's a tournament, $15 entry for a chance to win $1,000. They really don't do a lot of big slates for Serie A. They do bigger slates for the Premier League, obviously, because it has more players and that sort of thing. But, and then there's also other smaller contests, or for fun, if you've got some buddies and you all want to throw in $5 each and have a head-to-head or something like that, and you can do that too. So I just want to run through the names that are going to be in these games and, the prices, and I'll see if we've got what we have here. We'll start with the Cremonese Juventus game. First of all, I think what's important when you look at these things is, okay, how is the game going to go? And Cremonese's last 3 home games, there's been a grand total of 1 goal scored. It was scored by Sampdoria. So they play tighter, they play more defensive, they're trying not to give anything up. And you have Juventus, who in their travels in 7 games in Serie A this season, in their games combined, them and their opponents have combined for 8 goals. Juve have only scored 4 away goals so far in Serie A this season. So all the metrics scream that this is going to be a low-scoring game. I'm scripting it for a 1-0 Juve win, in fact. So, but let's go through the players and the prices here. Cremonese, the interesting thing with them is that their most expensive play. Okay, first of all, I should also say DraftKings, the way it works. You have a $50,000 salary. There's 2 forwards, 2 midfielders, 2 defenders, a goalkeeper, and a utility player, utility outfield player. Okay, and you got to spend salary cap. You can spend all of it. You can leave money on the table, whatever you want to do. Cremonese, the redeeming thing to them is that their most expensive guy is $6,300, and that's David Okereke, the forward. But you have to play him hoping that he is going to get some kind of weird counterattacking goal. I like the talent, but the thing that stinks about Okereke and Serie A guys right now is he's just been on some really shitty teams in Serie A, and it has not been good for his development. He was on Venezia last year, and now this year he's playing on this Cremonese side. So the guys that you're probably looking at on Cremonese is the 2 defenders, the 2 wingbacks. Leonardo Cernicola is $5,700 and Emanuele Valeri is $5,000. They get decent cross volume. Juventus has been known to let you have the ball a little bit. And they can be crossing from some wide positions. They both take some corner kicks, and you can get a lot of points from crosses from them, winning some tackles, some interceptions. Maybe they draw some fouls too. So, they can certainly do that. They can certainly get there for you. So those would be 2 guys I'd look at on Cremonese. The other guy that I would look at on Cremonese as well is the goalkeeper, Mario Carnesecchi. He's $3,900. Very cheap for a goalkeeper. And when you're playing a cheap goalkeeper, you're playing him because he's going to get a lot of saves for you. There's win bonuses and shutout bonuses. Don't count on that with Cremonese. Don't count on that with Carnesecchi. You're paying $3,900 for him, hoping that Juve score 1 goal, but put 6 shots on goal, which it's 2 points for each save. You do the math, you get 10 points. So versus the 10 points that Szczesny will get in a 1-0 win for a win and a clean sheet and not seeing any shots. And he's $1,700 more expensive. So make sense, guys?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Cernicola, Valeri, and Carnesecchi would probably be any of the guys that I would look at on Cremonese. The other guy that's interesting, just if you need to save money, Gonzalo Escalante probably will start tomorrow in midfield, and he's only $3,000. So a guy that, if he plays long enough, could win some tackles, get some interceptions, might commit some fouls, but might draw some too. So former Lazio man, you might be in the starting lineup for Cremonese. That's another one, but that would be it. The Juventus side obviously is going to be popular. People are going to have it. The most popular, the most expensive player on there is Filip Kostic at $12,000.
Oh my gosh!
Inflation.
He is going
Not
to
just a gallon of milk going up, huh?
He will probably have 10 crosses before he even gets off the bus.
Yeah.
So that's 7 points there. He'll shoot a bit. He'll create chances. So what we call the floor is awfully, awfully high, at least 15 points. Okay. At least 15 fantasy points. But it's a big decision that you're going to have to make if you're trying to win the $1,000 because everybody's going to play him. And if you want to leave out that $12,000 and spend your money elsewhere. So me personally, the only people I ever spend $12,000 on is Erling Haaland, Kylian Mbappe, and Lionel Messi. So I don't
And now Kostic.
Yeah, I don't really know if I have Filip Kostic in that category. But if you're going to play the 50-50s, or if you're going to play the double ups and that sort of thing, you're pretty much going to have him in there because of the safe floor of points he's going to give you. My favorite play is probably Arkadiusz Milik. He's only 8,300. He's 8,300 and Moise Kean is 9,200. I would much rather play Arak Milik in this spot as a guy who's going to probably be the more likely to get his head on Kostic's crosses and so on and so forth. I can't stomach paying 9,200 for. For what he actually does on the field, he has to score 2 goals to really help you at that price, in my opinion. Do you guys agree?
Yeah.
Wholeheartedly.
If he was cheaper, it'd be how much if Vlahovic was fit, how much do you think he would be on this slate?
Less than Kostic.
Of course, it's just 12,000, maybe 11.
9,000, 10,000.
Well, actually, they're
15,000?
going to be. It's going to be on there.
Really?
Let me pull it. Yeah, let me pull it up. But you're just going to say he's out. Let me look real quick. He's 9,900.
Wow.
If he was fit, if he was fit, you'd probably lock that. But I think Milik at 8,300 is probably in the similar role that Vlahovic is in. Makes a lot of sense. The other Juve guys that probably make sense here, Rabiot at 6,200 is worth throwing in there because of his role going forward and getting in the box. That's not a horrible price on him. I like slates where he's like 4,000 or 5,000, but if you're trying to win the $1,000, maybe he comes in less on. Weston McKennie's only 4,700. Another guy that gets in the box and might be able to get you a goal. So, and at 4,700, if you get a goal, that pays off big time. So, and then Szczesny. So Karnaseki's 3,900. Szczesny's 56. Hardcore Italians in the house. Our boys, Richard.
Heyo.
All right. Good to see you. Good to see you. Send some gear. I'll buy some gear. I gotta look it up. Get caught up.
Freeloading.
So going through that, so Szczesny is 5,600, which he's the most expensive goalkeeper on the slate. If you think Juventus win, then there's a win 1-0. Then there's 5 points for the win and 5 points for the shutout, 10 points. But is Cremonese going to shoot on him? And do you want 10 points for the 5,600 guy or 10 points for the 3,900 guy? Probably rather the 10 points for the 3,900 guy. So, because then I'd have salary to spend elsewhere. But it's just that's some of the stuff that people have to take a look at. So, thoughts on any of those guys and those prices, or is there anybody that I missed out that you guys want to hear what their price is? As long as I got this up,
Chiesa
will make a cameo.
I'm asking because I'm looking at him on the I'm looking at him on my sports book, and he's plus 210 as an anytime goal scorer, which I wouldn't take that bet not knowing how much he's going to play.
Yeah. He's 8,600, and I don't think I can do that if I know him. If I know he's only playing 20 minutes. If he's starting, he might play 45, 60 tops. if I think he can get to 60, then I'll play. Then he might be worth playing. But that's 8,600 for him when you can get Milik for 83, who's certainly going to start. It makes more sense.
No brainer at all.
Yep.
And Milik, by the way, is plus 150 as an anytime goal scorer. I might even lock that in. I know that's obviously
not great bet.
Best return, but it almost seems like it'd be hard to imagine him not scoring in this one. So I might lock that in.
That's my favorite play. That's my favorite player to score in that game tomorrow.
Yeah.
So
the odds makers would agree. I don't think anyone else has odds like that. Plus 150 anytime goal scorer.
Now the other game is going to be the one you're going to want more guys in, because I think there's going to be more activity in this game. Fiorentina and Monza. Start with Fiorentina. Cristiano Biraghi is the most expensive Fiorentina player. He's listed as a defender, and you have to pay 8,800 for him. That's a big boy tag for him. He'll be taking all of their corner kicks. He'll be taking all of their free kicks. You're playing him with the idea that he's going to get you. He's going to get you a lot of points. Just racking up crosses and corners and maybe winning some tackles, things like that, getting some shots from distance and things like that. The only problem with it is that, as I thought about it throughout the day, is that this is a Monza that is playing a lot better. They were playing a lot better before going into the World Cup break, and this is still a middling Fiorentina team that's returning. So, are you disagreeing with me, Richard?
No, don't mind me. I'm thinking to myself.
Okay.
What's the price on Luka Jovic?
Luka Jovic is 5,700, and I love that price.
Yeah.
He has not played a lot for Italiano, but he has his goal per 90 and his shots per 90 rates are really good. And strikers are always in play. Are always going to do well in Vincenzo Italiano's teams. When he was at Spezia, now here at Fiorentina. So, I mean, we talked about it with Vlahovic when he was at Fiorentina, and when we saw Cabral and Pianta coming in and scoring goals, we said, hey, it's the system. So he's 5,700. I think the biggest misprice is Jonathan Ikone is only 4,100. And probably going to start as a winger. And he has had double-digit fantasy points in 3 out of his last 5 games. I think if Ikone starts, you have to play him. Jack Bonaventura is up to 6,500. He's scored in his last 2 games, and I think that's what brought up his price. I think that's just too expensive for me. Cabral is 6,500 if he ends up starting and not Jovic, so I hope Jovic starts. Christian Kwame is 8,000. That's, to me, a little steep for what he actually does.
Yeah.
And then the other punt that I would say in this team would be Antonin Barak is only 3,000 if he gets a chance to start. He usually can find his way to the top of a box and get some shots off. So, so that's the Fiorentina side. The Monza side, the price on and this is why I won't want to play Bonaventura at 6,500. Gianluca Caprari 66. He scored a penalty in the friendly against Torino, so he'll take the penalties for Monza. He scored in the friendly win over Lyon. He's starting to find some good form all of a sudden, and he's one of those guys that gets some. He'll shoot and create chances in open play. He generates a lot. Prefer him over Mota, who probably will start up front with him at 5,700. Mota's. I find Danny Mota at Monza to be goal dependent, and to score goals, he needs service. He's not going to create his own chances. No. I think that's what we're learning from him in his short time playing in Serie A. Agree?
Yeah, no doubt. Agreed, 100%.
Okay. So Caprari over Monza, either of them over fat fuck Battaglia, who's only 5, but he's only 5,000. So I think in the notes that I wrote up, I said, fat fuck. Doubt he starts, but really goal and service dependent if he does. Probably just going to eat leftover panettone as his warm-up.
Yeah.
So that's and then going further down, Matteo Pessina, bit of a misprice with him, only 4,900. He should be taking some set pieces with Sensi out injured. And then the other guy that I like from Monza is 3,400, Andrea Colpani. Should snag a set piece or two off of Pessina. He's basically playing Sensi's position. And he's a willing shooter, and he also creates an open play. So 3,400 is pretty cheap for him. And then the two wing backs for Monza, I wrote up Samuele Birondelli, 5,200, crossing, creating chances. I probably would rather play Valeri from Cremonese if I had to pick between one or the other. But Birondelli's decent. And then Carlos Augusto's 4,300. He has scored twice in the last 3 games for Monza in Serie A, but so people are going to chase that. I don't know if I want to. I mean, I think that the 5,000 range defenders are all better plays than Augusto. But Augusto's cheap. So, I mean, and you can also always take a chance on a center back like Milenkovic is a little bit cheaper. But if you play Milenkovic, you should probably play Biraghi as well so that you have the correlation on a corner kick. Biraghi putting one on Milenkovic's head. So from there, if you're going to play a cash lineup, I think I had Kostic Kostic is one spot and spending the 12K, Iconi at 41, Valeri at 5, Szczesny at 5.6, and now do we take Szczesny at 5.6 or do you take Carnesecchi at 3.9?
Ooh, I think I might take Carnesecchi at 3.9.
Okay.
Savings.
I like it. Okay, so we'll go 3.9 there. So we've got Kostic at 12, Icone at 4.1. We like that. Misprice. Do you guys agree on that one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm going to build one right now just for the heck of it.
And what was that to win 1,000? $5 to win 1,000?
$15 to win 1,000. Yep. All right. So Kostic, this might not be the lineup that I actually play, but this can give everybody an idea. Icone, I think Valeri, I would probably go the cheaper of the two Cremonese wingbacks. Valeri's 700 cheaper than Cernicola. Carnesecchi, we said, for 3,900. So that gives us 6,250 per player. We're picking Milik. We like the price on Jovic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Are we picking Milik to be the goal scorer for Juve tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay, so our forwards are going to be Jovic and Milik, Kostic, Icone, Valeri. That leaves us with 5,500 per player at a defender and a utility spot. So that prices us out of Biraghi, which I'm fine with. I think this game is going to be wide open, and I don't think Fiorentina is going to monopolize to the point where Biraghi pays off the 8,800. So let's play Caprati in the utility. And then we have 4,400 left at defender. And I'd be happy with Augusto as a last man in. Would you guys?
At what price? I mean, obviously it's filling out the last, but just curious. 44?
4,300.
40, yeah.
Yep. But if you're going to go the cash route, the utility, you may want to go Pessina. And then the defender, you can get all the way up to Cernicola if you wanted, but I like that one better. I think Caprati can score tomorrow. And then the defender, let's get Augusto in there. Yeah. So the Serie A sit-down DraftKings lineup that we constructed tonight, Luka Jovic and Arkadiusz Milik as our forwards, Jonathan Icone in midfield, Filip Kostic in midfield, Carlos Augusto at defender, Emanuele Valeri at defender, Mario Carnesecchi at goalkeeper, and then Gianluca Caprati at utility.
I'm going to need one of you to fax me a copy or email me a copy of that so I can play it.
Okay.
Fax me a copy of that.
And then the other thing that you guys want to do that might be a little bit better on for 50-50s or for double ups. At utility, you could take out Caprati and put in Pessina, and then you could take Carnesecchi out of goalkeeper and put in Szczesny. That would be another way you could go. So so those would be the options as far as
pretty confident that Szczesny's going to keep a clean sheet.
Yeah. So if you want the safety of the clean sheet and the win, then you play Szczesny, and then you can go from Caprari down to Pessina. So that was our degenerate portion of the program until we get to do One Calcio Twitter, which is always degenerative.
Serie A is back, which means I'm going to be broke in a couple days because
There it is.
Especially when I know I'm going to be. I'm going to at least have games on in the background in every block. I do have to get some work done, so I'm going to at the very least have them on in the background. It just makes the games more interesting when you've got action.
All right, so we've kind of somewhat talked about 3 games. Let's look at the rest. Richard, Salernitana, Milan, Sassuolo, Sampdoria, Spezia, Atalanta, Torino, Hellas Verona, Lecce, Lazio, Roma, Bologna, and Udinese, Empoli. Take us through these games and your thoughts on them and what you're looking forward to.
Let's all start with Salernitana, Milan. This should be a straightforward game for Milan, but they seem to struggle with the bottom feeders, and in particular Salernitana. So I think it's going to be a cagier match than Milanisti are hoping for, honestly. But I think they're going to find a way to win it. They got enough talent to win. But it's going to be something like a 1-0 or even a 2-1 scoreline, something they should no right to be playing in. But that's what I'm expecting there. Sassuolo, Sampdoria. This could be it should be a high scoring game because I don't trust either of these defenses. Obviously Dionisi has a much better squad. Sampdoria's been playing better as of late.
I think like a 3-2 Sassuolo win.
I'm with you on that one because I don't see much defense in this one, especially after the long break. It's kind of the opposite of what I'm expecting from
you know what, Richard? I'm looking at an over/under of 2.5 goals. I'm smashing the over.
Yeah, I am too. 100%. Spezia home to Atalanta. I think Atalanta actually gets a couple goals in this one. I think they're probably going to win 2 or 3-0 in this one. I think, honestly, I don't think Spezia is going to be ready after this long break. It should be fairly comfortable for Atalanta for once. Torino, Hellas, that could be an entertaining game. Hellas has been massively underperforming this year. Yeah. Torino have been overperforming. But I think we'll be a little close here coming off the break here. I'm not sure how the stars for Torino didn't play too well at the World Cup. So I'm going to say a narrow victory for Torino. Lazio should just flat out, I'm sorry to Lecce fans or our fans, UK Lecce brothers over there in the UK. It's not going to be pretty. Lazio under Sarri have been fantastic. And I think they're going to be dominant with the ball. They're going to find ways to cut up through that Lecce defense. And I can see him putting up 3 goals. Honestly,
I look at because I've got the sports book open. I think Lazio is one of the. I mean, Lazio can find a way to fuck up, which should be a sure win. But I'm looking at Lazio at plus 110 on the money line, and I don't know. I feel like Lazio on the plus money in that matchup against Lecce is probably worth a play for me.
Yeah. An interesting game for me is Roma Bologna because this is the first game since Mihajlovic passed away, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yes, you're correct.
And they're going to honor him at the game. Not Roma struggle as it is to score. And granted, it is at Roma, but I expect an inspired performance with Bologna. I could easily see a draw on this one. It should be Roma with the win, but Bologna are going to play inspired, and you can never. We've seen teams when they have to overcome these kind of adversities, whether he's not with them or not, doesn't matter. He meant something a lot to Bologna. So I think Bologna finds a way to get a draw on this one.
And on that note, because I was thinking the same thing, and if you want to, and I do sometimes play the draw in the 3-way money line, which can be kind of frustrating because like rooting for a draw, I don't know, but plus 295 for a draw, that's a really good return for a game like this.
I agree. Fiorentina, Monza. Amrabat returns to his club team. Monza, they kind of ended the first half very strong. I honestly think this could be a very tight game. Fiorentina were the darlings at the beginning of the season, but I think Monza are going to play them actually pretty tough. All the signings they made towards the end there, they kind of started to come to fruition. They're playing as a unit at the moment. Well, they did. I had a 6-week break here. I see a draw on this one, Alex.
Plus 300.
Yeah, I think a draw is going to happen here. Surprise the Fiorentina fans for sure. What do you think?
Well, I definitely, if I play anything, I'm either going to take a shot at Monza plus 1, or I'm going to play draw on the 3-way money line because I don't like Fiorentina's price at minus 140 on the money line or minus 1 with the spread. So that's the only part of it I'm definitely avoiding. I do not like Fiorentina in the minus money to win.
Yeah, no, that's a good shot right there. And then lastly, Udinese, Empoli, for Sonia and a few others that are watching this game. No, I will probably watch this game. This should be a game that Udinese wins comfortably. I think. I don't know. I've lost my confidence in Empoli this season. As the season's gone on, they've gotten weaker and weaker. I expect Udinese to kind of pick up where they left off at the end of the season or the end of the first half. I could see probably a 2-goal victory for them, Alex, in this one. I think Udinese are a strong enough team, and they have some talent up at the front end that they can probably get a couple goals against Empoli, who are pretty weak at the back.
I'm thinking of a 2-team parlay because I think Udinese and Milan to win straight up, not against the spread, to me are probably my safest pick. So if I parlay Milan minus 205 and Udinese minus 160, I get plus 142 return. That's not bad for a quick.
No.
I'm not. I know some people do these crazy 10-team parlays, which are like a lottery ticket. I tend to play 2-3 teamers most of the time. That's probably something I'm going to go with.
Oh.
Udinese Empoli. I'm somewhat there on Udinese. I think that here's the thing. These smaller clubs, that have had almost the entirety of their team together might have an edge. So,
True.
they might, at least for these first couple of games, and they've had the weeks to prepare and trying to get off to the right start and things like that. You're looking at Empoli, you're looking at Udinese. These are obviously both teams they've had everybody. Nobody of consequences really left. But I think where the issues are here, Deulofeu is doubtful for Udinese, which to me puts a cloud of doubt on Udinese's prospects. I think they need him in this game to run through people. Certainly they're going to have Beto up front. They'll have success up front. But there's a dynamic that Deulofeu brings to this team that, that helps get it over the top. So I'm cautious about trying to, do anything with Udinese on any kind of money line. It's crazy, but the Empoli money line is tasty.
Okay.
I won't lie, but I won't do it either. Plus 450. That's just one thing to look at. I think that the teams here's how I see these results all going. I think that Milan win.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be pretty, but they're going to win.
Yeah, that's why I don't like Milan at -1 because I think that's a push. I think they probably win by a late goal is the way I look at it.
Yeah, I agree. They won't have Giroud. I don't think they're going to have Teo, if I understand that correctly. I think they're still on a break. So you're talking Ballo-Touré and you're talking Origi probably up front. So Sassuolo, Sampdoria, Sampdoria are playing harder under Stankovic.
Yep.
So, or at least, heading into the break, the results haven't quite gotten there yet. But there's a sign or two of life. I don't think it starts here with them starting to get on a winning run. I think Sassuolo will go on and win the game. But I think it's going to be closer than people think. I don't think Sampdoria is going to be out of their depth. Spezia and Atalanta, I like how Gasparini has restructured this team tactically, and I don't think Spezia is going to have anything to offer. Torino Hellas Verona plus 250 draw is tasty to me there, but worth noting, Torino looked pretty good in their friendlies, including a 4-1 win over Monza. So something worth noting if maybe they've pulled it back together under Ivan Juric and gotten things going. I think they drew Cremonese, but then they went out to Spain. They beat Espanyol 1-0, so they went unbeaten on their on their run of club friendlies, and they're already talented enough. So, Sanabria and Miranchuk didn't go to the World Cup. That'll help them.
Yep.
Draw is interesting. I probably would lean the Torino side, though. Lecce, Lazio, man, this Lecce team are hard to break down at home, and they're making that a very difficult place to go. Bellatori is injured. Okay, we'll see what Milan do at left back then.
Kevin Constant.
That actually hurt my ears, Richard. Ouch.
Speaking of hurting my ears, I kind of picked up. I probably turned on the PlayStation for the first time in like 4 years, and I had FIFA 19, and it's the end of the banter era team with Milan with guys like Kevin Constant. I'm like, what are these players? Like, I don't want to play with this.
Yeah.
I've been playing. What do they call it now? What used to be Pro Evo? It's like it's eFootball now. They call it. But the thing is, because I don't think like Inter and I don't know if Milan. I think Milan's only on eFootball this year, where they have like the exclusive rights, and if you play them on FIFA, it's like a generic team. So I've been playing eFootball. But then it's frustrating because you can only play against like a handful of teams. They don't have every roster on the game. So I'm very disillusioned with video games these days. I'm probably too old for this shit anyway, but I'm very disillusioned with
it. Further down, let me see here. I'm going to go for Monza to beat Fiorentina.
What?
Yeah.
Hot take of the day. I like it.
Yeah. I think they started to figure a couple of things out. Yep. I like the form that Caprari's in. I think that Fiorentina is still trying. They've been struggling. I'd feel better if Gonzalez was fit and playing in this game. He's not. So I'm going to go with Monza with the upset. I'm going to go with Roma over Bologna. Bologna is going to be emotionally charged, like you guys said. But I'm going to go with Roma winning.
Greg, let me ask you this. Do you think Vincenzo Italiano was paying attention to Amrabat, his positioning at the World Cup, and going to play him in a similar position, or do you think he's going to return him to what he was playing before?
I think that, okay, so now you get a look at what Amrabat does for country, okay? I think that Fiorentina will play the same way. They won't play with the way Morocco plays. Sure. And I think that means freedom for Jack and Barak, or whoever's flanking him in midfield, to go forward and link with the attack and find runs at the top of the box. And Amrabat's just going to back everything up and cover all the ground. So functionally, he should stay the same. It's just the overall way Fiorentina play are going to be much different. So that's how I see that one. And I'll go with Udinese and Empoli to draw.
Okay.
Without Deulofeu, I think that Empoli can sneak one in. I think Empoli have some pretty decent technical players.
Yeah, plus 310 on a draw, so that's not bad at all.
Yeah, I 1-1 draw. I think that they've got very good technical players by Rami, Baldanzi. And Baldanzi's a guy we're going to continue to learn more about as the season goes on. Talented young Italian player, and Marin coming through the midfield. I think that they've got the ability to hold the ball, keep the ball, and ask Udinese a few questions even at the Dacia. So I'll go 1-1 there.
Let me. This question came up from Hardcore Italians, who is looking like the best contender for 23. Obviously, Napoli is the team that's the cream of the crop at the moment. Do we see anyone outside of Napoli really contending? Obviously, Milan's going to be in there, but are we talking Lazio? Are we talking Juventus, Inter? Like, is anybody going to challenge? Somebody's going to challenge. Obviously,
honestly,
who is it?
I could see. I don't know about Lazio, but I could see any of those other teams you mentioned. Obviously, Milan mathematically are the closest. But Juventus were very hot. Unfortunately they hadn't been relegated yet for all these financial irregularities. But Juventus were quite hot before the break. They're in the Champions League picture now. If the season ended today, Inter are even a little bit behind that. But I honestly could see any of those teams catching a nice run of form. But at the same time, it's like, if Napoli doesn't, I know we're only 15 match days through, right? But Napoli, they've got such a sizable lead that wouldn't it feel like a choke job if they can't get this over the finish line? I mean, I know
it would be massive. Yes.
I mean, this would be, I know that they pissed it back in 2018 when Juventus were able to come back and win that one and win their 7th or 8th straight at the time. But they didn't have the sort of lead at any point that season that they have now.
No.
I don't feel great saying this, but I think that it is. I think that Juventus have the best chance of overtaking Napoli for the title. They're out of the Champions League. They can just say we're not invested in the Europa League. They have the best defense in this league at the moment, only conceding 7 goals through 15 games. Let's also remember Napoli, schedule-wise, through these first 15 match weeks, was relatively soft. They did win at Milan, important result, okay? But now they're going to get into the meat of this schedule, and play some pretty difficult opponents. And we're going to see what they're made of. I think that they've got Inter, then they travel to Sampdoria, and they've got Juve coming up. They travel to Salernitana. They host Roma. So they've got a pretty interesting stretch, in front of them. So Inter and Juventus are among their last games here. We'll see. Juve are going to start to get a bunch of dudes back. We'll see how Pogba fits into this mix. I think he's no different than anybody else they throw in the midfield, but but we could be surprised. They'll get Di Maria back into the mix in some capacity. They'll get Vlahovic healthy again. And Allegri will have a lot of options at his disposal. And playing once a week. I don't know if they're going to take the Europa League seriously. And I think that with the way they've defended and with the way they play, because let's face it, it's aggravating for us to watch. Imagine being an opposing team when you can't play your game against them. I think that they're the closest title rival to Napoli at this point. I think Milan is still in the conversation. I think Inter is still in the conversation. But if you gun to my head, I have to give Juventus a lot of credit here and I have a lot of optimism for them to have the best chance.
Right on.
Makes sense.
So, Mercato just kind of got started. Not a whole lot going on there. Milan signed some random from Colombia to be a backup goalkeeper. Vasquez.
Pablo Escobar.
Was he Colombian? No, he wasn't. Yeah, he was Colombian.
He was. Yeah. Maybe they signed Pablo Jr.
No, it's Vasquez, and I can't remember the first name, but I saw that blurb. Most ridiculous thing I've read this week was that Milan are going to swap Leao to Manchester City for money and Jack Grealish.
Oh, there you go. Who was high enough to write that?
It's just
Graham Souness.
Yeah.
Oh, Graham Souness, what an idiot. So, but I haven't seen anything else that's really noteworthy. Devis Vasquez, thank you, Anthony. So that's who's coming in, and I think that the Maignan injury is still concerning for Milan going forward as well. So that's just extra cover at the goalkeeper position for the Rossoneri. But other than that, I'm not seeing a whole lot to get excited about just yet. With this winter market, but it's only January 3rd, so.
It does feel like at least there's going to be smaller signings, but as far as like big players, big clubs, this feels like it's going to be a quiet January. And I know that Serie A is not in the best financial shape these days compared to. It seems like the gap with the Premier League is only widening, not narrowing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, that's for sure. Anything else, guys, here so far? I think we've been pretty comprehensive with how we've gotten the the resumption of Serie A back underway before we get into the debauchery of Who Won Calcio Twitter?
Yeah, I've been waiting a good 8 weeks for Who Won Calcio Twitter. That's
Me
what's
too.
been getting me up in the morning.
Yeah, I know.
Let's do it then. Okay, it is time for the world's most popular hashtag game, Who Won Calcio Twitter. Richard, start us off there.
All right, starting it off, we got Francesco Calcio with Italy beats Albania, gets the third place medal of not making the World Cup, and they celebrate like they've won it.
Okay, so
I feel like I have more Albanian friends than Italian friends, so they were not happy about that. There are a lot of Albanian Inter fans. I feel like every Inter group chat I'm in, they could care less about Italy. It's all about Albania.
Yeah.
All right, next one. Richard, for some reason, wanted to put on something that was on Instagram by Goal.
You got to read the lyrics. The lyrics is what's funny with this. Is like Kylian Mbappe looks like a Ninja Turtle who lives in a hospital. The lyrics are. Someone took time making the captions, and they are hilarious. And the full video is even funnier. But yeah, worthy a shot because they mentioned Paul Pogba.
Okay, let's move on.
All right, George in the chat says, Italia watching the 2022 World Cup in front of a TV.
That's good.
That's good.
You know, you could put a TV in front of Cagliari and say, Cagliari watching Serie A this year.
Ooh, I like it.
Sorry, George, I had to do it. George, but you are the leader in the clubhouse, George, just for this. Yeah. This was very nicely played, so we're going to see. Okay, George.
Ooh, that drop kick.
Yeah, freaking Walker Zimmerman when he sees Gareth Bale get the ball.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a penalty in that game where US should have won.
Crazy.
And that's from Anthony. Okay. Okay, Anthony Skanga. Other teams, when they hear this news.
Nothing. My offer is this.
His original tweet was Bonucci's contract will expire in 2024 for automatic renewal.
Yeah, and that was based on the Bonucci's contract expiring. Yeah. You're right. So
my offer is this.
Nothing.
All right. Matt Santangelo makes it's been a while since we had a Matt Santangelo on Who Won Calcio Twitter.
Rafael Leao's father on the phone later discussing updated renewal demands.
Oh, beautiful.
Scarface.
Nice. Yes.
Gotta love it. Okay, Moncada's scouting missions.
This spring, I'm in Yevlak. I'm in the abandoned city of Pripyat.
I'm inside one of the ancient down oil tanks.
Moncada scouting wherever he can.
I am not inside a fusion reactor. I'm in Hull. I am in Morocco.
It goes on for 2 minutes like this.
Oh, wow.
Pretty good. That is at Kilpin Chronicle. We'll put him on the list.
Pretty good.
Let's see. Oh, well, this one's... Can't see Namor's wife on this one, so Bob will have to take your word for it. Let us know what Pierce Morgan tweeted out here. But moving on, Alex Donald gets a nomination.
I did?
It says, what time do they have? Okay, so the original tweet from All Juve Cast says, a dinner took place this evening between the newly resigned Juventus directors and coach Max Allegri. Alex said, what time did they have to return home to keep their ankle bracelets from going off?
Nice, Alex. Very nice.
I went on a that was probably the only funny one, but I went out the day that all the news about Juve was breaking. I went on a rampage that day, and then I took a break from Calcio Twitter for a couple weeks to watch the rest of the World Cup after that.
And now, since you're on this show, you cannot win, unfortunately. Sorry.
Yeah, it's fine. I think I would have lost anyway.
We enjoyed the effort. Okay, so moving on to Alan at Offside Twice. Chesney is playing like a man that knows his club is getting relegated.
In the same theme of my tweet. I love it.
Yes.
Nice.
All right. What is this? Footage of the note falling into the wrong hands. Oh, so I don't know why it's not. It must have got deleted. But in the Australia game, Denmark got a piece of, the coach wrote the notes on a piece of paper. The Denmark player dropped it. Australia player picks it up, gives it to his coach, and he found all the instructions, and they beat him.
All right. I guess we had to be there.
Yeah.
Big Show was back in our lives at __ That's the
dude.
only January signing Inter can afford.
Oh man. All right, what else? Moving on. All right, Frank, number this again from the Not the Big Show, and it's Agnelli stopping by Nedved's house, telling him they have to step down from Juventus.
Welcome, John. I mean that. You want a coffee?
Oh, that's good. All right, what else we got?
So the first and second of Big Shows is in the clubhouse. Okay, moving on. We have at No Context Footy making the list. This is Messi. This is okay. So Messi is Fred from Scooby Doo. They've caught the bandit in a Lautaro mask. They take off the mask. It's Higuain.
I that's brilliant.
Look at Messi's face. Like, come on.
That is brilliant, and it's the story of my life because Higuain played for a few years. I don't even know if he still plays for Inter Miami, but he
retired.
He played for he retired. That's right. He played for my local down here, and he made an MLS record contract. You just eat sausages in Miami and just not score any goals. Crazy.
Oh, the Art Morelli parody page. So the picture is it's unnecessary. There's no reason for this. So when I saw that Drake wearing a Napoli shirt, he goes, "It's unnecessary, man. There's no reason for this."
Oh man.
Oh, well played.
It's beautiful.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so moving on, our friend Bob Lex, who's been in the chat all night with us, replying. Amrabat when they tell him he has to play under Allegri now.
أعرف بأنك بذلت مجهود كبير من أجل أن تلعب هذه المباراة.
He's crying. He's crying.
I think it's funnier that I have no idea what he said too.
Yeah.
What the interviewer said.
George coming with another nomination says, with no World Cup games today, I feel Italian. He's Infantino. I don't know. That's a good one to be.
All right. Bobby has another one. This one's a reply to Adrian Garcia. Okay, so Christine Cupo saying Brazil going to lose. You don't mess with cats. And that is I can't read it. Do you have that up there,
Richard? I can't read it either. No, I can't read it either.
So Adrian Garcia replying to Christine with a cat in the Brazil grave
because they lost.
Yep. So
let's see. All right. AS Roma Schick posting Mamma Mia Sono Io. So Paulo Dybala 0 minutes play in the World Cup. It's oh dear, gorgeous. And then his buddy there 15 minutes played in the World Cup, and it says you fucking donkey.
Love it.
All right. So our friend Pouty Saudi responding to or retweeting Lega Serie A La Prima Argentina Croatia La Prima semifinal with a picture of Di Maria and Brozovic, and then him coming back and saying, please don't make it about you. It's been a blissful 3 weeks without your shit.
At least they didn't do anything racist.
Yeah, we can't confirm that, though. We can't confirm that.
As far as because usually anytime Serie A wants to make it about them, it's some kind of a completely nearsighted thing that gets people all up in arms. So at least they didn't do that.
So the original tweet by Peter O'Rourke says Napoli and South Korea defender Kim Min-jae has admitted he has been disturbed by rumors of a possible transfer to Tottenham. And here's the video of it. Then that's
You like football, yeah? Yeah. Premiership? Yes. Premiership. What Premiership teams do you know?
Man United.
Yeah.
Chelsea.
Yeah.
West Ham.
West Ham.
Yeah. Liverpool.
Yeah.
Man City.
Yeah.
Yep.
know, quite a few. Do you know Tottenham? What?
That's good. That's good.
What?
All right.
What?
So let's see.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it. Oh,
Pretty strong slate. I thought the one watching the Italian team watching the World Cup on TV, that made me chuckle.
That was good. George, that was George. That was from November 19th. I thought the Kilpin Chronicle was quite creative. The Art Morelli picture had me laughing.
With the drink, yeah.
That one was good. The Sopranos one from Big Show was good too.
Yeah.
And then Pouty Saudi too, I think was good.
Yeah.
I'll let you guys decide which one's your favorite.
I think I'll vote for George with the TV. I'll give it because I feel like Big Show is probably a pretty serial winner, and he had 2 nominees. He stuffed the ballot box, so I'll go with George with the TV.
I'm gonna go with George too. I think this is pretty funny by George.
Yeah.
Okay.
It required some Photoshop. I don't know if he did it himself, but somebody had to put the work in to Photoshop the TV in there. So
right.
I give an A for effort.
All right. Well, we're gonna. I think we'll be a trifecta. We'll make it George, and he is our winner of Who Won Calcio Twitter, first winner of the new year. So Jersey, SoCal. There he is. So congratulations, George. Hopefully you're listening. You are the winner of Who Won Calcio Twitter. Well played. We will retweet it here. But it was from November 19th, 2022. Italy watching the 2022 World Cup, and it is a team picture and with a flat screen TV in front of them.
It's always nice to win something for a tweet he's probably forgotten by now that he wrote. Since we haven't had an episode in so long, it's like we're digging back to November 19th to find winners. He's like, well, I wrote that tweet. All right.
I must say that I loved Pouty Saudi's tweet though. So as if he's trying to admonish like a bratty child, you know.
Yeah.
By the way, if you submit a Who Won Calcio Twitter, you're more likely to win that than to win a trophy if you played for Spurs.
That's true. That's true.
There you go. So, Richard, anything else to say to the people here?
No, Calcio's back. Let's get it on with the games, and let's see how the second half unfolds, because first half was exciting, World Cup was exciting. Let's see what the second half of the season has in store for us. Can Napoli hold on? That'll be the question.
All right. How about you, Alex?
I can't wait to see how Inter look tomorrow. I'm going in with the only expectation I have is just hopefully a good match, win, lose, or draw. I want it to look competitive. I haven't watched Inter play in so long. Obviously really consumed with transfer window stuff. Will they be able to reach an extension with Milan Skriniar? Apparently Inter have given him a mid-January deadline, and supposedly they're not raising their offer from $6 million a season, and I believe he is worth more, and he has teammates who are making more money than that, including Brozovic and Lautaro, if I'm not mistaken. So I would hate to lose Milan Skriniar on a free. So that's the sort of thing I will be watching in addition to the matches themselves.
Just glad Serie A's back.
Yeah.
Okay, just glad Serie A's back. Glad to have some banter. Going to see Calcio Twitter alive and well. And even during the World Cup, people had things to say, as evidenced by the Who Won Calcio Twitter. So, certainly some fun stuff. So we'll put a bow on this edition of Serie A Sit Down. Alex, anything to shamelessly plug?
Anything your viewers may. Well, actually, I am going to do a spot with Jerry tomorrow night. Jerry and Joe Fischetti. We're going to do a spot with them on the Calcio Connection channel. Outside of that, I basically work 80 hours a week tracking high school and college football players through Sports Illustrated and Locked On Canes. So if you are interested in college American football, if there is any crossover into this audience, that's kind of my full-time gig is Locked On Canes on the Locked On Podcast Network. Other than that, I'm chasing my rambunctious 4-year-old around.
Excellent.
Amen.
Excellent. And as I'm going to keep telling you, find a way to just talk them into getting back to being the you and bring that all back. The 7th Floor Crew, all that stuff. Because college football was fun when that was around.
Yeah. Oh, believe me, I try.
People took the fun away.
And, I'm building some good relationships. They're not letting me coach the team yet. I'm still working on that. I'm trying to tell the right people we got to bring the U back, and hopefully they're working on it.
Nice.
It's that secret friendship with Luke Skywalker, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or Nevin Shapiro, whichever.
Well, the new guy now is John Ruiz is the new guy. He's the big NIL benefactor. So he's the guy that you want to get in with. So hoping to build a relationship with him.
Nice.
That's just the SMU guys, because I remember watching. I watched that Pony Excess on the 30 for 30 not too long ago. Those SMU guys have got to be rolling over in their graves right now, saying, "Now you're letting this be legal." So, Richard, anything you got?
Shout out to the Hardcore Italian guys for jumping on the chat with us, and everyone on the chat, really, honestly, I got nothing else.
Check them out, guys. Is it hardcoreitalians.com?
Yes, sir.
All right, check them out. Get some gear. Get yourself looking good for the new year. Some great print T-shirts and other apparel that they come out with. So check those guys out. So find me at FTC_21. Serie A Sit Down, our own channel on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Stitcher. We're also on Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever there's podcasts. There is Serie A Sit Down. At Serie A Sit Down on Twitter or Instagram. Give us a follow there. You can follow me, as I said, at FTC_21. Richard is at R_KHARMAN, and Alex Dono at ALEXDONNO. We're also on Facebook. We don't spend a lot of time there, but we are also on Facebook. So if you can sift through the pictures of families that moms put up and all that fun stuff, you might find a thing or two that we have to say there. So with that, we're going to sign off. Do this again next Tuesday night, gentlemen?
Yeah, why not?
Next Tuesday it is.
All right. We had a lot to talk about this time. It's been 6 weeks. Hopefully we'll be able to have it a little bit shorter for the people. But...
There you go.
All right. And also, I'd be remiss. Chat, as always, thank you guys for your comments, for your contributions, for your questions. If this is your first time tuning into the channel, please drop a like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. This way you are reminded when we go live on the air, or if we do a video drop, because we've been doing more of those lately, or a
can drop.
Alex just does a whole desk drop of stuff. So
just a desk drop, yeah.
Okay. Well, that'll do it, y'all. For Richard, Alex, I'm Frank. Be sure you tell your paisans about us. See, it's been 6 weeks. Ciao.
Yeah.